Gridiron Grinder! Hut hut hike!
All right, we're rolling. It's Friday night, Gridiron Grinder time. I'm Ryan, and tonight James is back. So, like always, just a couple of dudes hanging out, talking about what's going on in the NFL each week. This is episode 64. We're going to kick things off with Name That Stadium. Then we're going to cover some of the news from this past week. After that, we'll hit our week 4 power rankings and game picks. And then we'll shut it down with the question of the week. And so, with all that being said, how's it going tonight, James?
It's going good. How's it going with you?
It's going good, man. It's good to have you back.
Yeah, it's good to be back. Have outside conversations.
uh, well, you're a daddy now, so it's life has changed for you, my friend.
Yeah, definitely.
And congratulations. We'll get it on the record, even though I've said it a bunch of times by now. So,
Nice.
okay, let's move it over to Name That Stadium. So, this is the part of our show where, as you can see, anybody who's watching, James is out there traveling the country. He's got a new stadium in his background every week, and basically, we're just asking if you think you know what that stadium is, hit us up in our comments section. The first person to get the correct answer, they'll get a special shout out in next week's show. And for this past week, since James was out, I took over Name That Stadium responsibilities. I gave it my best shot. James caught me today. I fouled up a little bit, but I was out at State Farm Stadium, home of the Arizona Cardinals, and I was just all giddy. The way that they're starting the season off, they've been kicking butt. And so I was just trying to show them a little bit of love. And then James reminded me that they played in Jacksonville. So, it wasn't a home stadium, but it was, I did my best here, man. Did my best. So, yeah. And I'm glad that you checked it out at least, James, so you could at least call me on it. Now, next time I'll do better. I'll try my best. So,
Yeah, the home part of the stadium just kind of happened. Like I picked a stadium that happened to be the home team on like the first one, and they're like, "Oh, let's do it as home." I was like, "Oh, okay, let's do it as a home." It wasn't a
yeah.
plan thing. It was just pick a stadium and put it up, and ended up happening to be a home. So that part of it wasn't thrown in there officially.
Okay. So you're letting me off the hook is what you're telling me.
Exactly.
All right, all right. Cool. Okay, so let's move it on over. Let's do our recap of the past week. And so, this is there was a lot going on this past week, news-wise, and I'll start with some Lions news. Jamie Collins, he was thrown on the trade block originally. Nick and I talked about it last week. We weren't expecting that there was going to be a ton of interest. If anything, it'd be kind of a throwaway pick type of thing. Turns out they couldn't get anybody to bite, and so they just flat out released him, which, you know, the dude signed a big contract, and it's tough. I would say he wasn't horrible, but he was getting paid a lot of money and he was kind of slow for today's game. That's tough, and he did this just a couple years back with Cleveland. They signed him to a big contract, same kind of thing. It was bloated for the production. They cut him. Of course, he went to New England, had a great year, and then we signed him, spent a ton of money, and history repeats itself. So, it's okay. We're moving on with life, and I'm excited for the Lions. They got some young guys that we're interested in seeing, and life goes on. Maybe he'll go back to the Patriots and kick butt again like he did once upon a time ago. So,
Yeah,
um, yeah, go
you got
ahead.
to give him the Ndamukong Suh uh, contract 1 year, so he's always constantly playing for that money, and then he steps it up just to get the next contract.
Yeah, keep him hungry. And the thing is, he was fairly productive. He was getting tackles. It's just that you could see when you watch the games, speed wise, he was lacking, man. And so yeah, he was getting tackles, he was getting production, but you know, I don't know. I just think that today's NFL is so much faster. It's so much more wide open. And with the Lions being in a full blown rebuild, I liked it. He's not going to be a long term fixture of this team. let's see who else is sitting there behind him and what they have to offer. And that's the exciting stuff. When you do a rebuild is, sometimes you got to shed that old skin and you got to go with the new guy. And so that's what we're doing.
Yeah, you got as a fan, you have to constantly remind yourself it's a rebuild. It's a rebuild, and not expect too much, and kind of tamp down your expectations till they get some pieces in there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm not expecting anything this year. I think next year, I'd love it if they could get probably 6, 7 wins next year. And if they did more than that, I'd probably be thrilled. But I think this is a really long-term rebuild for the Lions. I mean, they have, Nick was actually just hit me up the other day, reminded me that they have like the max, well, not the max, I wouldn't say there's not a max, but they have the highest amount of dead cap hit of any team in the league. And it's like, well, part of that's you trade Stafford, you're going to take a huge hit there, and then you just got all these deals that you had to shed, and Jamie Collins was the last one that just got shed, and it's like, yeah, you're going to take some hits on the dead cap side of it, but it's okay, it's just part of the process.
Exactly.
Okay, so next up, I saw this week that Marlon Mack, it looks like the Colts are going to honor his request to be traded. They are putting some pokers out there to see who's interested. And, for me, this one, it kind of bothered me that it took this long, to be honest, because Marlon Mack always showed those glimpses of potential. And I know that he had some injury issues, kind of always held him back. Um, but, he did put together some nice strings here and there throughout his young career. And I'm just hoping that he lands in a good spot where he gets a place to show off his talents, and we can see, what he's still got in the tank because he's still young. And I'm hearing Baltimore and San Fran. They're kind of like rumored to be in the mix. I could see him, fitting in either one of those places potentially, but you know, we'll see where he goes, man. We'll see. Fingers crossed for
Yeah.
that guy.
With the Baltimore makes a lot of sense with the problems they've had and the injuries they've had at the running back position.
Yep.
When I heard the news, my first reaction was about damn time.
Yeah.
It's obvious that, I mean, they have Jonathan Taylor, and I forget the other guy's name, like
Naeem
Najee.
Hines.
Naeem Hines, yeah.
Yeah.
I,
And then
I,
they
I always forget his name,
yeah, and they got a
but
third guy that played great last year too, and I'm drawing a blank on his name, but it's just like, geez, man, Mac was like fourth on that depth chart, and um, really, you're gonna burn through that many guys? I mean, I guess it happened in San Francisco, but you know, that's just so rare. And maybe they thought, hey, that extra game this year, let's have an extra guy in here just in case. But I don't know. I want to see him play. That's
yeah,
all I care about because he showed he can play.
yeah, he can definitely play, but I don't know if if the Colts are going to get anything really worthwhile offered to trade for him because
No.
I mean he's clearly a luxury item or luxury spot they have, so it's
Yeah.
like, well, they'll fine keep him. You're not going to play him, you're just going to continue to pay his ass.
Yeah, and he's a running back in today's game, where yeah, you get like the some of the high picks, the Saquon Barkleys, the McCaffreys, the whatever, but for the most part, people kind of look at the running back position as it's like a dime a dozen. You can find these guys second, third round or later, and they can have almost an immediate impact, and it just yeah, so I think if anything, they're going to get a late pick or they're going to swap late picks or something like that. I don't think it's going to be anything substantial, or maybe they find a suitor that's got a player that they like and they can do something there. So, but it'd be good for him to get a fresh start, get back in the game.
Hmm.
Okay, so next up, I saw just a couple hours ago that Rob Gronkowski is doubtful for this weekend's game against the Patriots. And, everyone is talking about this being the Tom Brady revenge game. Uh, but I guess, you can't overlook that it's also kind of a revenge game for Gronk. I guess it's different. I don't want to like say it's a revenge game because, they did honor his request and trade him to Tampa Bay, for him coming out of retirement. So he left on much better terms than Tom did. But, it would have been cool seeing him and Tom, teaming up against the old team. Uh, and so I'm a little bummed about that. But
Yeah.
doubtful's not totally out. It just looks like it's going to be out. So
Well, I remember the hit this past week that he took for that caused this rib injury, and I for some reason I thought he finished the game. He just kind of was like sore, and then I mean it was a brutal hit. It was a great hit, and he came back so in the game, so I didn't think anything was going to come of it until I saw today he was doubtful.
yeah,
The other one that is interesting we'll get to a little bit later, but yeah, Gronk. The interesting thing about Gronk is he was in an interview or something it was this week or I forget. I don't know exactly where it was, but he said he never watches game film.
okay,
He just goes to Brady because he knows Brady watches all the film and says, "What kind of coverage? What do they do?"
yeah.
And Brady breaks it down for him, and he's good.
Oh, nice. It's like
Yeah,
he's cheating off of the other guy's paper. Hey man,
exactly.
show me your answer. So yeah, that's awesome. Well, they're a heck of a duo, man. Um, all right, so next up, Tennessee Titans. They are down both AJ Green and AJ Green, AJ Brown, and Julio Jones. Both have hamstring injuries. Probably good timing that they're playing the Jets, but it still sucks to be without your top two wideouts, man.
Not only that, and wow, I didn't even realize that it was this bad for them. So they have AJ Brown and Julio Jones out. They also have defensive linemen. Bud Dupree's out. Caleb Farley's out, and their punter's out.
Oh wow. Okay, yeah. So they've got some big name guys out, man.
Yeah. So like I mean their punter obviously not a big name guy, but it's like it's normally like this many players like this out, and it hasn't hit the news that much. And hasn't even affected the spread on the game either, really. Because I swear, which is really weird if it hasn't. Yeah, Tennessee's favored by 7, so maybe a couple points on the spread. So
Yeah, I kind of thought it would tighten up a little bit, and
yeah,
maybe it
me too.
still will between now and Sunday, but I think a lot of people are just assuming the Jets are, they're just bottom of the barrel this year. But yeah,
They
that
are.
many big name guys out, you know,
Hmm.
that changes things quite a bit.
It does, but that sucks for them. I mean, Tennessee's had Tennessee is kind of and even when we get to the picks, I think Tennessee's kind of overrated a little bit this year on what I've seen
Yeah,
of them.
yeah,
But like with the fact, I'm sorry, with who they've beaten, but with the fact that it's the same team that went to the playoffs last year, basically, you gotta respect the record, and we'll get more than that on the power rankings. But they
sure.
haven't really beaten anyone,
No,
and this one, I'm sorry, they haven't really beaten anyone. Looking at their 2 wins, I can safely say they haven't really beaten anyone. That's Seattle and Indianapolis they've beaten.
yeah,
So,
yeah. They definitely they look like a step behind where they were last year. It's
hmm
just not coming together for them. And you know, last year I think they were starting to get more on the radar. The year before that, they really impressed a lot of people. And we talked about it a lot last year that they, in our opinion, or my opinion at least, last year they were outperforming their talent level. And whether it was coaching or who knows, it was just, it seemed like they were playing better than they really were on paper. This year, you know, Tannehill got so much hype. Obviously, everybody knows Derrick Henry. They brought in Bud Dupree, that was like a splash free agent thing. And then, the signing of Julio Jones, it was like now all of a sudden they've got sort of like these like name brand players and they're all over the radar. And I was worried that it was going to be a letdown kind of situation because, if they regressed at all, then they're just an average team from like, if you're going by last year's standard. Uh, And these big name guys like Julio, obviously there's a reason he was available for a trade. And
Hmm.
you know, it's tough, man. It's tough. I like Tennessee. I'm hoping they can keep it rolling, but yeah, I've got some concerns too.
Exactly, and a lot of that also has to do with the fact that they lost their offensive coordinator.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, to head coaching job in Atlanta. Okay, so the next piece of news I got is Richard Sherman. Looks like he signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and quick activation time. Sounds like he's going to be playing this weekend.
Really,
You know,
I hadn't seen that.
yeah, I'm not too crazy about the signing. It's just a 1 year, $2.5 million deal. But I think it's good for Tampa Bay because I know that they did lose Sean Murphy Bunting from their secondary, fire up chips, and so they have a hole there, which their secondary was already kind of their weak spot anyhow. And so he'll get a shot to show if he's got anything left in the tank. And if he does, it's a cheap deal for the Buccaneers. And so it's kind of like if it works out, the rich get richer kind of thing.
Well, I always kind of felt that the reason why he wasn't signed had something to do with his arrest. Was it last year?
Yeah, you were telling me about that. Yeah, that was a pretty
It
screwed
was,
up situation.
yeah, like it was just it might have been earlier this year. Like I don't remember exactly when it was, and I thought that kind of like had teams down on him. Let see how that situation unfolds before we sign him, and then but then you come to Tampa Bay, and they have an obvious need for some to do something in that secondary, and I mean basically Tampa Bay signs whoever Brady wants. So Brady could have said, "Hey, you
Yeah,
should go sign Seymour," and Tampa Bay's like, "Yes, sir. May I have
yeah,
another?"
yeah, yeah. Anything to get another ring, Tom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, okay. All right. So I got just a couple more. I'll go through them real quick. DJ Shark fractured his ankle in last night's game. The last I heard a couple hours ago, it sounds like it's pretty bad. Probably going to be one of these ones that requires surgery. He is going to be expected to be out for a decent amount of time now, maybe the year. We'll see what happens. Um, so bad news for Jacksonville. It's a good thing they do have some depth at wide receiver. They still have Laviska Shenault and Marvin Jones. But Shark was a factor in that offense for sure, and so he will be missed. But this is part of the game, man. Hopefully he heals up and he gets back and everything's okay.
So a point about Jacksonville is how long is Urban Meyer going to really be there?
Oh, dude, I, I
It's
I heard people were all over like the way he looked after the game last
uh,
night, that he was just
during
like,
the game.
what's
During the
it?
game, he looked during
Yeah,
during the game too. Like
yeah,
there's a bunch of shots of him like he's
devastated.
like devastated, and it's a devastating loss to that. He's like, dude, you're in the NFL. We knew this was going to happen,
Yeah. Well, it's
and
it's like, hey, keep in mind, you're taking over the team that has the number one pick. Like you're, you know, you're asking for a miracle if you think you're going to come in and make the playoffs right off the bat. I mean, I don't know what he was expecting, but it just this is part of the growing pains, man. And I will say this, Trevor Lawrence did look a lot better last night. I was nervous the first couple games with him. It was like, ooh, man, he's a rookie. I get it, but like, all the hype of him being most highly rated guy since Andrew Luck and yada yada yada. It was like I was kind of expecting a little bit more of those first two games, and he showed some stuff last night, which was nice. Um, but I don't know, man. You got to have patience if you're in Jacksonville.
so Jacksonville also tied the Lions on
Okay.
something last night.
Yeah, that's usually not a good thing.
They tied the Lions for the third longest consecutive loss streak in NFL history. The most is 29 games,
Okay, fuck, that's
and
a
it
lot.
was in 1942 to 45, the Chicago Cardinals, which
Okay.
the Arizona Cardinals now.
Yeah.
Um, and it included a season of splitting it was the Chicago Pittsburgh Cardinals Steelers.
Okay.
Because in World War II they combined teams because they lack of availability. Or if you didn't know, you now know that
Thank you.
during World War II, teams were combined to continue the NFL because of lack of availability of players. And the second longest is Tampa Bay from 76 to 77, which is 26 games.
Okay.
So they're pretty bad. I mean, they lost 15 in a row to finish last season. Urban Meyer knew what he was walking into, and it wasn't like when you heard in the offseason, oh, like Pete Carroll, this and that. Pete Carroll walked into a situation where they had players or they had pieces there. They just had to get over the hump.
Yeah.
Urban Meyer walked into a situation where they couldn't beat the local rec team at
Yeah.
football.
It was a dumpster fire, and it still is.
No, Dumpster Fires just called me. They say they're offended. Please take that back.
No, won't do it. Won't do it. Okay, so my last piece is LaShawn McCoy, Shady McCoy, announced his retirement. He signed a 1-day contract with the Eagles, retired out there in Philly. Good for him. He spent most of his career there. Uh, you know, it's hard to think the guy had a 12-year career. In today's day and age for running backs, that it's almost unheard of. And so, um, I will say this: like on one hand, it bums me out a little bit that he's announcing it now because he's like so far under the radar that it almost makes me sad to hear it. I'm kind of like, oh man, he's still not retired, like because he's just not been relevant. But on the other hand, a part of me says, well, I don't want to take anything away from the guy. He had a great 12-year career, and you know, you can't knock him for trying to stay in the game as long as he could. And so I gotta respect that part of it. It just it's weird. It's like, like if they go out on top, it's like then it's like so much more of a celebration. When he goes out like this, it's almost like a sad retirement because it's like, he still wanted to play, obviously, if he waited until now and it just, didn't finish the way he wanted. But it's all good. Happy retirement nonetheless. Good for him. And yeah, moving on with life, man.
Yeah, you said that. I was like, I thought he already retired. So, um, nothing really to say besides about time that somebody officially announced it because I haven't heard about him in probably what, like 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he was on, uh, well, didn't he, was he on Tampa Bay last year for a little while? And I don't know if they released him or what, but he was, before that, he was with the Chiefs for a little while. Um, and
Yeah,
so
he won the Super Bowl with the Chiefs, and then like I mean, yeah, he won the Super Bowl. The Chiefs won the Super Bowl, but last year with Tampa Bay, he had 10 attempts.
yeah,
And let me see, he had 15 receptions. It doesn't have his targets on this list. So and then postseason came, he had nothing, and he had
yeah,
nothing postseason for Kansas City. So he won two back-to-back Super Bowl rings, but did nothing in the playoffs for those teams,
yeah.
basically.
Yeah, he was definitely full decline by the time he went to the Chiefs. And then
Yeah.
last year he was just there just because they wanted to kick the tires and see, and there wasn't anything left. But that's okay. Still a great career.
The other one
Okay.
makes me think of is Frank Gore. Has Frank Gore retired yet?
Oh man, did he announce it or not? I
I
want to
don't
say he
think he
did,
did.
but maybe not. He had to by now.
No, he didn't.
He's still trying. Oh man. Well,
Let's see. I have him. He was on the Jets last year
yeah.
and finished the season on IR. and just nothing this year. Let me see. Let me check something else. Because yeah,
Sure.
he's been going for God,
Oh, yeah.
17 years.
Yeah, yeah, he's got like the frickin' yeah, the marathon of a career, especially for a running back.
Yeah, so let me see. Is he playing this year? Huh. I don't have him as play. Maybe he's still hurt.
I'm showing several teams have reached out, but he's sitting as a free agent, so he's waiting. He wants to come back. It
Huh.
says, oh, and then I got one from a couple weeks ago. It says he is looking at getting into boxing, and he has turned down NFL offers while training for a high-profile fight. Okay, okay,
Huh. Interesting.
yeah,
Anyways,
yeah. So any other news from this past week that you want to hit on, James? I think we kind of covered a lot there, but there
I
could be
think
some.
I think we hit all the things I had.
Okay.
Let me just
Well,
do a rundown real quick, see if I missed something.
yeah, skim it real quick. Yeah.
Nope. Oh, yes, I did. The couple things came out this week. There's a book, I forget who wrote it, that's coming out, but they released excerpts of it. It has to do, it's like the behind the scenes for the Patriots.
Oh, I heard about this book. Yeah.
And the reason why Malcolm Butler didn't play in that Super Bowl has finally been revealed.
Okay.
It's because him and fucking Patricia got into a disagreement in practice during that week, and Patricia was being a pouty baby and benched his ass.
Jeez.
Also, apparently, Bob Kraft was overheard or told some people like he was like in company of like owners or something, and he had to fly to Detroit for where the Patriots are playing. He said, "Yeah, I have to leave people I enjoy to go spend time with the biggest asshole of a head coach I know."
What?
Yeah,
Holy cow, man. Holy cow.
and and the rumors were true about how Belichick didn't want to trade Garoppolo, and he was the heir apparent, and Belichick wanted to get rid of Garoppolo, and Brady wanted to leave New England as far back as 2017,
Okay.
and it's just like all this shit's coming out is like, geez.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
of course Belichick did this. So, oh, that's third, fourth, maybe even fifth hand accounts of what's happening. None of it's true.
yeah. Yeah, and I mean it's, you know that there's always some dirt in the background. They did a
Yeah.
good job covering it up for a long time.
Yeah, it's just that that I thought it was interesting though with the Malcolm Butler thing. I don't remember the exact if they said what the fight was over, but it was basically Patricia was being a whiny bitch.
Yeah. I believe that. I believe that just knowing what I know about him now. Okay, well, while you're looking that up, I'm going to pull up my week 4 power rankings and we will take a dive into those. Um, I see you got pretty aggressive with yours, James. You got pretty aggressive.
Yeah, well, also I've been out. It's basically 2 weeks worth of change on mine.
Yeah, so you're just like you're revamping basically.
Yeah, so here it is with Malcolm Butler. In the lead up to Super Bowl 52 against the Philadelphia Eagles, Patriots cornerback Malcolm Butler and defensive coordinator Matt Patricia traded heated words at practice over the former Super Bowl hero's lack of effort. Butler was demoted at the team party after New England's loss. Butler responded to teammates asking why he was benched, saying, "These dudes," referring to the coaches according to the book, "these motherfuckers." So yeah, so basically Butler had an off day in practice. Patricia got in his face and he said, "Fuck you," and Patricia said,
Yeah,
"Okay, you're benched."
yeah.
And
Insubordinate.
base, yeah, basically going into that Super Bowl, I would have picked. I probably would have bet on Philadelphia to win if I knew Butler wasn't going to play.
Yeah, yeah. It was a factor for sure. A factor.
Yeah. So it was Seth Wickersham's book. It's better to be feared to give proper credit.
Yeah, there you go. Nice. Yeah, I'll be interested to hear more about that, man. It sounds like it's going to be an exciting book.
Yeah, it looks interesting, and there's other stuff in it that, like, I mean, I'm not going to go through the entire release of the book, but it looks like a lot of behind the scenes shit for them.
Nice, nice.
That's that everybody's wanted.
Yeah, an organization that keeps things tight under wraps. Yeah. Okay, so power rankings, man. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Give me 1 through 5, dude.
All right, and I know people are gonna shit the bed when I give them my number two and on this, but okay. So number one, been my number one all season, which is the Rams. The Rams are, as I've been saying, the fucking best team in the NFL right now. They they're just that offense is ridiculously dominant. That defense is fucking good, and they're going to beat the shit out of pretty much everyone. They might actually go 17-0,
That could happen, man.
or what is it, 20-0 to if they win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, 20-0 if they go all the way. Yeah.
Sec- yeah, three. Okay. At number two, I have the Chargers, and I know people are going to say, "Well, James, you're in LA. You're just being a homer." Remember, I'm from Detroit,
Yes.
and this Chargers team, look, they just beat fucking my number two, uh, last number two on my rankings, which was Kansas City, and you got to give them that respect. Like
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
beat the number two team, they're the number two team. Outside of that, I mean, that Herbert's playing ridiculously well, and this defense with Derwin James and shit, what's the other guy's name?
Joey Bosa.
Bosa. Yeah, I was like Joey. I didn't know, just Bosa. I always get Nick and Joey confused. With that defense is looking as advertised. They haven't missed a beat, and they have, for the most part, if you look at the Dallas game, um, they would have won that game if Stanley Staley, whatever his name is, wouldn't have had some hiccups on time management. I thought that Anthony Lynn was coaching the Chargers again, as bad as the time management was
jeez.
in the Dallas game. But yeah, so I mean, outside of the time management issues that Stanley,
Staley.
whatever,
Yeah.
Staley had. Sorry, I got like 2 hours of sleep a day, so
It's all
forgive
good.
me.
Yeah.
As with the time management issues with him, this team would have beaten Dallas and would be undefeated. And yes, undefeated. They're 2-1. Yes, yes. I wanted to verify I was remembering correctly. At number three, I have Tampa Bay. I didn't drop Tampa Bay down um, from after losing to the Rams, because let's face it, this Rams team is fucking awesome. If it was a lesser team that they lost to, I
Yeah.
might have considered dropping them down a little bit, because when you look at Tampa Bay, their defense leaves a lot to be desired
Yep.
currently as it is, which is a surprise because this defense was dominant at the end of last year going to the playoffs. Maybe the defense needs to ramp up and get there, and we'll see what happens with them. Other one, Buffalo, is my number four, and I think I moved them back up. I freaked out a little bit after their loss to Pittsburgh, and I think
Yeah.
it was more of an overlook of Pittsburgh. This team's starting to look back to form what I saw from a couple from last year,
I agree.
and then
Yeah.
like it's looking like like it was just a hiccup, and they looked past Pittsburgh, and I think I maybe overreacted by dropping them down so far. Give me 1 second.
Sure.
All right. So then at number 5, I have let me see. I have the Green Bay Packers, and Green Bay Packers moved up to number 5 from number 8, and this is the same situation as Buffalo. I probably overreacted a little bit and dropped them down a little bit further than I should have with the week 1 loss to the Saints. I think it just kind of, like, everything I was reading, and like I even told you some of the shit I was reading about Rodgers. It just kind of, I think I just way overreacted, and this is kind of settling back into where I think they approximately actually should be.
I got you. Okay. Well, yeah, looking at my board, I got the Rams at 1. I'm there with you now. I'm there with you now. Anyhow, they knocked off my top team, so they're the top dog now. I dropped Tampa Bay down to 2. They got knocked off by my number 2 team, so I didn't want them to fall too far. And then I put Buffalo at 3. I agree with you. They're playing much more inspired football. Week 1 was just a blip on the radar. And then at 4, I got Kansas City. I dropped them down 1 spot. And at this point, I'll admit I'm probably holding on a little too tight because, they lost twice in a row now. And, if it happens again, whether it's this week or, probably not this week, but in an upcoming week, then I'll let go of the vine a little bit and drop them down further. And then at 5, I've got the Cleveland Browns. I don't normally drop teams after a win, but I'm also just not prepared to put them ahead of Kansas City just yet because they did lose to Kansas City a couple weeks ago. And so this is just kind of the way that it all seemed to jive in my head, James.
Oh,
Uh,
complete sense.
yeah, and so why don't you give me 6 through 10?
All right, at number 6, I have. Let me make sure I'm looking at the right one. Um, all right, I have Cleveland at number 6, and I moved them up from 10. I really kind of like what I'm seeing out of Cleveland. That defense is starting to look a little bit dominant, and excuse me, and all that offense has to do is be mediocre, and that offense and the team will win. It's that defense is just looking that good for Cleveland. And number 7, I have Dallas. I had Dallas at 9 after, what was that, week 2 was the last time? Yeah. After week 2 going into week 3. I I don't know what to do with Dallas. I think this is a product of I dropped a team out of the top 10 or 2 teams out of the top 10, which caused Dallas to jump up.
Okay.
But I don't know what to do with them. Like, that offense looks legit. That defense scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, the defense is playing good for now, but it makes you wonder when are the wheels going to fall off because they were so freaking bad last year. Uh,
Exactly.
and really, I mean, yeah, you got Micah Parsons and you did a couple things, but they also lost to Marcus Lawrence, if I'm not mistaken. And so it's like it is scary, but no, they're playing good football, and I'm on the bandwagon until that defense proves otherwise.
All right. At number 8 is Arizona. Now, last time I had Arizona I'm at 19.
Okay.
So this is a huge jump for Arizona, and it's a lot of this jump it would have been more of a progressive jump because I would have jumped them up after week 3 a little bit and then jumped them
Yeah.
up a little bit more. So it looks like it's a huge jump, like, wow, you changed it, but it's because I have that 2 weeks. Arizona's on a roll. That offense looks awesome. Kyler Murray's doing good. The defense is doing what it needs to, and maybe Kingsbury can coach. I was saying that he couldn't, but maybe he can coach. It's still up for debate, but for now, Arizona is at 8, and I'm starting to buy the cheese on them a little bit. as you remember last year, I was all over Arizona and like had them and wouldn't drop them, wouldn't drop them, wouldn't drop, and then finally it's
Yeah,
like I
yeah,
gave up on them. So they, I'm a little concerned jumping them so high so early, but we'll see what happens. But I think they have a solid chance to stay in the top 10.
yeah, yeah,
At number 9, I have San Francisco. This is another one that had a huge jump, and it's more of a more of a would have been progressive. Where did I have them? Oh no, never mind. San Francisco dropped down
okay.
to number 9 from number 6. I'm just
They're starting to get banged up, man. It's like a
they're starting
flashback
to
to
get
last
banged,
year.
they're starting to get banged up. They struggled with Philadelphia. They they lost to Green Bay. Yeah, it was the last second. They should have won that
Yeah,
fucking game. They should have won that fucking game if they would have not snapped the ball with 12 seconds left on the fucking play clock. They would have won that game, and I would have gone fucking 13-3 last week. But anyways, snap the ball with 1 second on the play
yeah,
clock
yeah,
when you're driving the field and you're about to score the game-winning touchdown. I don't even remember what they scored. I was just so pissed off that they snapped the ball with 12 seconds left on the play
yeah,
clock, and they would have won the fucking game if they wouldn't have.
yeah. That's bad for them.
So, so they dropped down 3 spots because of that. All right, this is the one that needs explaining.
Sure.
At number 10, I have Kansas City. I originally, when I went through my power rankings, I had Kansas City a lot further down than this
Okay.
for this week. I don't know what it is with Kansas City. The defense looks like shit. Patrick Mahomes looks like he forgot how to play fucking football. I mean, he's not having his year. The offense, that offense is, it's just, this team is not gelling. And I think the 2 consecutive years of making it to the Super Bowl kind of got to these players, and they're kind of
Okay.
getting tired, and it's going to be a long season, and I don't know if Kansas City can make it through the season. And actually, I don't know if Kansas City can win the AFC West, let alone the AFC.
Yeah, I mean it seems bold, but when you dig into it, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. And I was just reading some stuff this week talking about how uh, you know, defenses maybe have finally started figuring out how to slow Mahomes down. They're taking away a lot of those big plays, tempting them to run the ball, and it's like played right into their hands where Kansas City's been running the ball way more. And I think for the most part they've been doing it well. The problem is it totally changes the game when they're running the ball, and then the other team can kind of hang in there longer, and then all it takes is like a splash play here or there, and then shit, next thing you know it, the team that should just be crushing people, they look like just a regular team now, and so it's is it a small sample size? Yeah, but if they can't find a way to buck the trend, then it's a problem. And I think it hurts that Andy Reid has some health scare now. Uh, that guy's got to be on his A game. He's like offensive freaking mastermind there. And so, they need him healthy and helping them figure this thing out. So yeah.
Yeah, the thing with Andy Reid is I had read or heard that it was quote unquote dehydration that caused him to go to the hospital. I'm not certain on the accuracy of that report or if other stuff had come out. So I don't know if I'm as concerned about Andy Reid
Okay.
versus, but I I hear what you're saying on it.
Yeah. Okay. So looking at my side here, I got Arizona at 6. I like that they're rolling. I think it's, a fairly steep ranking, like you're saying. And they've got a tough matchup against the Rams. So this is kind of the chance, you either put up or you shut up, and if you lose, I'll drop you down a little bit, but I'm still digging them, so I won't drop them down much. The Rams are my number one team. At 7, I got Green Bay. I moved them up a couple spots. They're finally getting back into form after that shaky start, like you mentioned. I'm pretty comfortable with having them at 7. I want to see them just start crushing some teams before I move them up higher than this. At 8, I got Tennessee. I think it was great they got the win over Indy, but I'm not bumping them for this week, and I probably won't bump them again next week because they're playing the Jets. 8, it just, 8 feels high for them. It's just the way it worked out on my board, with the way that they've won at the times that they've won compared to their peers and whatever else. And so I'm with you. It feels like they're a little bit overrated this year. At 9, I've got Dallas. I pushed them up 2 spots. Like I said, I'm totally on that bandwagon now, at least until the defense proves me otherwise. At 10, I've got the Chargers. Totally impressive. They beat Kansas City. No doubt, probably deserve a bigger bump than this. I'm just not. I'm just not there yet. I like what I'm seeing. I'm. It's such a new team, man. It's new coach, so many new things going on that I'm just like, let's just give it a little bit more time before I start really skyrocketing them all the way up the board. So, but it could happen sooner than later. We'll see. I do like what I'm seeing. All right, back to you at 11.
All right, at 11 I have Vegas. Vegas, this is another team where like it feels like they're worse than their record.
Yeah.
Vegas this year feels like the Bears last year to me.
Oh man, that's a freaky comparison. But yeah, like nobody was expecting it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like they feel like their record isn't representative of what who they are. And I meant to look this up, and I got distracted with something else, but because I have ADD and I, anyways, so who they'd beaten is like it seems like from what I remember, they beat the Ravens. The only reason they beat the Ravens is because Lamar Jackson fumbled the ball. The Steelers, well, it's the Steelers. Who gives a shit? The Steelers suck. The Steelers might not win a game this year. Well, they'll win a game, but bear with me. Ben Roethlisberger's not going to complete the season as the Steelers quarterback. And then they beat the Dolphins, but they beat the Dolphins when Tagovailoa got hurt. So the teams they beat, it's either been luck or a shitty team or
Yeah.
luck.
Yeah, injuries. It's been something every week. And
Yeah,
I mean they've played phenomenal. I mean Derek Carr is on fire, man. But it does seem like super fluky from what we were expecting going into the season.
exactly. So Vegas, I had them at 14 um, in the previous rankings, and they went up to 11, and we'll see where they settle. But it's just I don't like this team here. Like I don't think this team is that good, but you got to respect the record.
Yeah.
Tennessee, I left them at 12 from the previous rankings. And my debate on this one was which team is better, Cincinnati or Tennessee. And I can't say for certain Cincinnati is better because Tennessee has done it for longer, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, it does to me. Yeah.
And so I want to see a little bit more out of Cincinnati. So I have Cincinnati at 13. Cincinnati took a huge jump. Um, but it's because I like what I'm seeing on the team. I like Burrow. Cincinnati jumped up from 18. I like Burrow. I've always liked Burrow. I like the Burrow Chase combination. I like I like what that defense is doing, but they're resilient.
Hmm.
And I probably, if I would have accounted for last night's game in the equation, I might have put them above Tennessee because of the ability they showed to be able to come back. Yeah, it was the Jaguars, but the Jaguars in the first half yesterday, I almost texted you, like shit, like since we were way off on this game, fucking Jacksonville's beating the shit out of them,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
and I went up, had to come upstairs to feed the baby, and went back downstairs and have a TV, and I was like, it's a tie game. What the fuck happened?
Yeah. Yeah, it was it definitely Jacksonville came out hitting hard and then it just Cincy got themselves back in it.
Yeah. At 14, I have Indianapolis, and this is another team that I'm not sure if we've seen the true nature of the team.
No, not yet.
Um, and I can't, I couldn't really justify moving them one way or another on it because it's hard to tell who this team is. Like, I mean, they put up a fight. I mean, they held Tennessee to 25 points, but then are we sure about Tennessee? And they, let me see, what was it the week before? In week two, they lost. I remember that, but they lost by 3 points to the Rams, who I have as my number one team. So it's like I'm not certain who the Colts are,
Yeah.
but I can't drop them much further because it's like they're putting up fights when you wouldn't expect it. I thought they would be better, but it's just maybe this week maybe they'll start showing something and start showing us who they really are. And but then again, I on my initial run through, I thought the Colts were gonna start the season. What did I have them at? 1-4. So
Yeah, we were
so they
expecting a really rough first 5 weeks. Yeah.
yeah, and then so we'll see what happens. Not this week, but um, probably midway during the season we'll be able to tell kind of who this team is.
Yeah.
At 15, I have Washington, and Washington. They have the record that I thought they would, but I still dropped them 4 spots. The reason for that is this defense should be the number one defense in the league. All the bodies they have on that defense, all the studs they have on that defense, this defense should be playing so much better than I think they were ranked like in the low 20, like somewhere around the I'm sorry, not low, mid 20s in total defense, and that's just not right. So I kind of had to drop
Yeah.
them down, and I have concerns about is it the scheme they're running? Are the players just like, oh well, are they just taking it easy because hey, we're supposed to be the best defense, so we're the best defense? Like what is up with the
Yeah, they're
with
off. They're off. Yeah.
and plus they don't have a quarterback. They don't have a real quarterback. When they get a real quarterback, we'll this team will
Yeah.
be probably better, but they don't have a quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Heineke's not the answer. I mean, they could definitely do better than him. But I kind of think that they should let him hang for a while because maybe more game time with him, he might do all right because he's throwing some fucking great passes, man. But,
Hmm.
he also turned the ball over a bit, and just kind of does those things that guys do until they're like a little bit more seasoned. And so it's like I've kind of seen like some of the potential out of him, and now I want to see more, if that makes any sense. But I agree. It's like for everything we were hoping out of Washington, me in particular, they got to have much better quarterback play than this. So, and the defense for sure has got to come around. I don't. Defense definitely has been underwhelming this year. Um, all right, kicking it over to my side. At 11, I've got the Raiders. Nice, we matched up there. I'm with you, man. They keep finding ways to win, so I'm okay having them here. I'm just freaking surprised that they keep winning. At 12, I got Baltimore. I dropped them down 5 spots, and this is just an adjustment because I get it. They they won, but it was on a freaking record-setting 66-yard field goal against the Lions. I mean, that's.
Let's even get this a little further straight. They
Yeah,
they won on a record-setting length for a field goal against the Lions that bounced off the crossbar and
yeah,
had enough momentum to go over it
yeah,
after the previous play they had a delay of game that wasn't fucking called because it was a good second and a half.
You're right. That was a
After the clock
shit.
hit zero,
Yeah, that was a
that
miss.
that the fucking
Yeah,
ball was snapped and they didn't call it, which
yeah,
would have made it either a Hail Mary or a 71-yard field goal. And but
yeah.
let's be honest, it is the Lions. So if they would have tried the 71-yard field goal,
They
he
would
would
have
have
gotten
fucking
it.
made
They
it.
would have gotten
Or
it. Yeah,
if Lamar Jackson were to
yeah,
throw up a Hail Mary, they would have somehow figured out a way to catch
yeah,
it, or some phantom penalty in the end zone,
yeah.
which gives them like a 20-yard
Yeah,
field goal
I
or
mean,
whatever it is from.
I could see it now. For no good reason, they go for the 71 yarder, and the Lions put a guy back to catch it, and it like bounces off his helmet and goes through. It's like,
Yeah,
boom. That's what would happen. So, but yeah, so I had to drop Baltimore. I mean, you were all over it earlier on. The injuries definitely are kicking their ass, and I just don't. I thought, man, Baltimore's always had such great depth. I'm gonna let them hang in there for a while. And after that almost loss to the Lions, I'm like, no, I gotta drop them down a notch. I still like them. I still think they're a good team. But yeah, the injuries, it's just a bit much. And
Hmm.
then at 13, I got Seattle. I dropped them down 3 spots. Doesn't really feel like it's a harsh enough drop after getting their asses kicked by Minnesota. Just kind of when I'm looking at the board, I'm just struggling to push them down farther than this. So I'm just sticking them here for now. At 14, I got the Saints, and I bumped them up 3 spots this week. And I'll just be honest, this is like the part of my board where things just feel a little bit funky. I don't know how else to say it. Like some of the teams in this range, I'm kind of just, I don't know, like everything about them feels off. Like I could make a case one way or another, and it's like I like that, but I don't like that. It's like, yeah. But either way, I got them here, and I do like the Saints, but we've seen like it's like a Jekyll and Hyde out of the Saints this year, basically. And then at 15, I got Denver. This one, you know, like I said, I'm getting into funky territory, but I like what I'm seeing out of Denver. I think Teddy Bridgewater was the answer. He was exactly what they needed. I moved him up 4 spots. Um, I think they got to play some tougher competition. We'll see if they can keep it going. Maybe they got to grow into this ranking here on my board, but I like what I'm seeing so far.
All right, so for back to me at 16, I have the Saints. Saints were at 16 the previous week. Like you said, you said it brilliantly. It's like a Jekyll and Hyde situation there, and you're not sure what Saints team you're going to get each week. And I just don't have faith in them. I didn't want to drop them because they're beating or winning games that they should. They lost to Carolina. I thought they were going to lose to Carolina. I mean, the only surprise to me is they beat Green Bay at the beginning of the season. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I it's just I don't know what's going on with the Saints, and it's going to take some time for them to figure it out, let alone us figure it out. At 17, I have Baltimore, and now if you look at the last time I was here, which was before the Baltimore Kansas City game,
Yeah.
I had Baltimore at 21. And if you remember, oh no, I didn't. Okay. So after beating Kansas City, I jumped Baltimore. In my mind, I jumped Baltimore to like 14, 15, 16 area. I didn't have time to actually sit down and do a full power rankings, but like I kind of pre-think it, and as I'm thinking about it, and then I do it. So I dropped them down to 21 after week 1, and then would have moved them up, and then this is just kind of a settling back down. I don't think they're in the 20s, but I don't think they're a top half team. So I don't know exactly, like you said, this area is kind of funky
Yeah.
for me in figuring it out. At 18, this is another decent jump. I brought Denver into the top 20 from from 22 to 18. And the thing about Denver, Teddy Bridgewater is the second most accurate quarterback this year, and he has the eighth most yards per attempt this year, which is crazy to think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I've said, I've told you, and I've said it here. This team is a quarterback away from being
Yeah.
a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah.
Teddy Bridgewater might be that quarterback.
He could be good enough to get him there, man. I mean, all the other pieces are there. The defense
Yeah.
is good. They got a shitload of wide receivers. They got the running backs. They got the tight end. I mean, they have everything you need on that team.
Don't get me wrong. I had them starting looking at my like preseason schedule. I had them starting 3-0, but I think I had that 3-0 going differently than it actually went
Yeah,
in my mind. And I think the team is. I think Bridgewater is looking better than I thought he would have.
nice.
So this they're on the move up, along with Carolina, who I took from 23 to 19, and this is kind of that team that I'm really impressed with what I'm seeing down there.
Oh yeah,
Injuries are a little bit of a concern for me. I mean, they have McCaffrey is injured again. I told you in the offseason they should have franchise tagged Mike Davis
yeah.
just to keep his ass there because you don't know about McCaffrey coming back from an injury. And I wasn't rooting for him to be injured, but
Oh, I know.
it
And
just kind of it
I
kind of
think,
felt that they needed an insurance policy for him.
yeah, and I think Chuba Hubbard looks like he could be pretty serviceable, in his limited amount of workload so far. But yeah, I mean, McCaffrey's on a different level, and you want to make sure you got a good insurance policy for somebody like that.
Hmm. Exactly. And I took New England. New England went from 17 to 20, and this is kind of more of a I jumped teams ahead of them than was down on how they. I expected struggles to start the season with New England. Um, I I don't. I expected them to start the season 2-2. It looks like they're going to start the season. I'm sorry, be 2-1 at this point, and they're 1-2. But I mean, this team's going to figure it out. I didn't think Mac Jones was going to have some struggles, or the struggles he's shown are confusing to me because I see him as a better quarterback than what I've seen on the field.
Okay. Okay, well, yeah, kicking it over to my way. I've got Carolina at 16. I moved them up 4 spots. This was basically an identical comment to what I had for Denver. I mean, I'm impressed with what they're doing, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And hey, I mean, they're fucking turning Sam Darnold into a real quarterback. So, good for Carolina, man. 17, I got San Fran. I dropped them down 2 spots. Here's the thing. They should be higher than this, but injuries are already a concern, and we know how that shit turned out for them last year. And when I watch them play this year, they've had moments where they look good, and then they've had moments where they just look lost. And I don't know what it is, but I can't get totally behind them, at least not until they get more healthy or they start showing some consistency or something. At 18, I got the Vikings. I moved them up 7 spots. And, this is just like, hey, they had a strong win this past week. And they've been putting up impressive numbers all year. They just haven't really been getting the wins. But I think it's finally getting ready to come around for them. And so maybe a little bit of this is premature, but I'm going with them. I'm giving them the bump now. At 19, I got Pittsburgh. I dropped them down 5 spots. And this is, I mean, this is where they start rolling, man. And I know that you already killed them on your board. I probably hung on a little bit too long. I guess I was just expecting more out of a Mike Tomlin team, and it's just not happening. So I got them at 19, fully expecting them to keep falling if they lose. They're going to have to prove it quite a bit for me to really get them back up into that top 15, but we'll see what happens. Crazier things have happened. And then at 20, I got the Patriots. I dropped them down 4 spots. Um, you know, I thought they were going to do better last week against the Saints. I thought that was a good matchup for them. It was a home game. Uh, Jameis, you know, he's he's had good games, he's had bad games, but the Patriots secondary is supposed to be dominant. And I was just expecting more from him last week. And so I'm dropping him. It's weird seeing him at 20, man, but they got to start winning games. That's just the bottom line. So back to you at 21.
All right. And this is the one where you said, wow, you were aggressive this week. I dropped Seattle all the way from 5 to 21.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm the crazy person, but you know,
And the reason for that is, okay, so basically a SIF, a SIF, a colander stops more water than this fucking defense would.
yeah, their secondary is fucking horrible, man.
Exactly. The secondary is horrible. They're just they look like shit.
Yeah,
And also so it feels like something's wrong
let
with
me.
Russ. It feels like something's off. I don't know what it is. I can't place my finger on it. It just feels off.
Yeah, just not getting it done.
And that's why I dropped them so far. It would have been more of a progressive, like they would have dropped out of my top 10 after losing to Tennessee and then dropped further after losing to Minnesota, this is going to be one of the quirks in my rankings because I had Minnesota fell even though they beat Seattle, but
Yeah.
But what were you going to say?
I don't know if I had something there.
I thought you were about to say, or you looked like you were about to say something, or you started to say something, and then I
Oh,
kept going.
I might have been. I might have been, and I already lost it.
Yeah, that's fine. All right, at 22, I have Detroit, and this is kind of a 4 spot jump up for me. And I could be wrong. It really could be Baltimore, not Detroit, on this. But number one, they have a running game. When's
Yeah.
the last time the Lions have had a running game?
Oh, 1992.
Yeah. Number two, while they don't have any big name players, this team fights, and
Yeah. Yeah.
this team will fight the shit out of you before going down, and Campbell's just getting them to play above their skill level somehow, and I really like what I see, and it could be just an overreaction because they almost beat Baltimore and Lamar Jackson and the incredible Ravens who everyone thinks is yeah. It could be that, and I could just be like giddy because hey, we had a chance and we held Baltimore to 19 points. We'll see. God, who knows? Maybe this week they'll look like shit against the Bears and drop on my board. But it's the Lions. What do you expect?
I like the positivity though, and I think their offensive line has looked fucking amazing this year.
Yes. All right. At 23, I have Miami. Over the last 2 weeks, they dropped 8 spots. This 8-spot drop would have all been this week. It probably would have been more because I probably would have crept them up a little bit after week 2. I think. Let me double check that. Yeah, because they played. Who did they play? Oh no, they would have dropped down a little bit. Sorry, that was the Bills game. But a lot of this is the difference between Tua and Jacoby Brissett. With Tua, it's a top half of the league team. With Brissett, it's a bottom half of the league team.
Dude, I'm sure maybe I'm alone on this. I like Brissett better than I like Tua. I just I watching Tua play, it was like a head scratcher. He just doesn't look like a fucking NFL level quarterback, man. Like his passes don't have a fucking spiral, and I don't like the arc on his ball. I mean, it's just like there's so much going on there where it's like, yeah, he should be kicking ass, and I'm not seeing it. Brissett is like, he's not going to light the world on fire, but I think Brissett is like, I don't know, dude. I like this team with Brissett better than I do with Tua. Just my opinion. Just my opinion.
And I have to be fair, Brissett when he started the year Luck
Yeah, in Indy.
retired suddenly, he was at 19, and he started that
Yeah,
year. He looked like, I mean, he almost took the Colts, who were getting injured all left and right, to the damn playoffs. So I hear what you're saying, but I just don't think. I think this team is built around Tua style, and I don't think Brissett can live up to that
yeah. Square
escapability
square peg
style.
round hole. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, exactly. 24, I have Minnesota. And this is the weird one. They won. Yeah, I dropped them. Why? Because I'm just really down on Minnesota. Like, I don't know
Yeah.
what it is about Minnesota. I just, like, some of the shit, I can't
Well,
even quote it. Some of the shit I've been reading that's
yeah,
coming out of Minnesota. And it's like, honestly, Zimmer could be one of the first coaches fired this year.
yeah. I mean, what was it a couple weeks ago? They lost. The kicker missed that kick at the end of the game, and what do you know? Zimmer's fucking bitching about the kicker, and it's like,
Hmm.
dude, how many years are going to go by now where you're blaming Cousins, you're blaming kickers, you're blaming everybody, but you don't fucking talk shit at all about your defense that let like a whole fuckload of points go on the board, because that's your defense. You can't fucking take that heat. And then you never blame yourself, man. You're the head coach. It all comes back to you. And I'm super stale on Zimmer, and I like Minnesota. I think they have a ton of potential, but I've thought that for a few years, and they haven't done shit with it. So I don't know.
Hmm. Exactly my thoughts on it. At 25, I have Philadelphia. They kind of stayed here. This is a team where I think this team could be so much better if actually let me put it this way. When I was doing this my power rankings and it came down to the Giants and Philadelphia, I played rock paper scissors and Philadelphia won.
Oh, jeez. Uh, okay. Yeah, I hate the Giants, so I got them lower on my board. But we'll get there. Okay. Well, looking at my side, I got the Colts at 21. I moved them down 3 spots. I thought they played okay against Tennessee, given some of the circumstances with Wentz not being able to move and, other injuries and just in general poor play. But like we talked about, I'm not expecting much out of Indy until they get past week 5. 22, I got Cincinnati. I pushed them up a couple spots. I did like that it was a solid win over Pittsburgh. I'm just not sure how much credit to give them for that versus, how much do I need to be discounting Pittsburgh. Um, and, I like that you're a lot more encouraged by Cincinnati, especially after last night. I agree. I can see them going up again next week on my board. But 23, I got Miami. They're standing pat from where they were the week before. Um, I don't know what it is. Like I said, I just like Brissett with that team better than Tua, and so I think they have a good defense. I think they have some pieces, and I didn't see Tua getting it done. Maybe Brissett will, maybe not. Who knows? At 24, I got Washington. I dropped them down 3 spots. Um, I think they did about as well as you could expect going up against the Bills, and um, Washington. I was so high on them coming into the season, and I like just 180'd fast when Fitzpatrick went down. And then I started looking at the schedule, and I thought, shit, man, they really do have a fucking tough schedule. And so I've totally tempered my expectations at this point. I think they can only go up from here, but we'll see what happens. And then 25, I got the Chicago Bears. I dropped them down 3 spots. They got a mess at quarterback without a doubt, but their defense is a top 10 unit, and that keeps them in games. It gives them potential. They just got to figure out the quarterback situation, and they could start winning games. Um, I'm not expecting it. I'm just saying it could happen. And I hope it doesn't happen because it's time for Nagy to go, man. It's time for him to go. Dude, that team is just in such disarray. So, I don't know. Back to you at 26.
All right, at 26, I have the Giants, and I don't fucking know why I have the Giants here.
Because you flipped a
I
coin.
No, I don't even know why I have them this high. I'm trying to remember what happened that made me think, oh, maybe the Giants. Oh no, they're not. And that's how I feel about the Giants. They have
Okay.
Danny Fumbles. I mean, their coach. I mean, his coaching style works when you're fucking winning. Oh, that's right. They played a tough game against Washington in week 2, which moved them up, and then they moved down after losing to Atlanta. That's
Okay.
what it is. Okay. So I was just trying to remember because you have that week gap, so you don't have the movement week to week. So which one
Yeah.
was it? You know, the Giants suck. The Giants are devoid of talent. The Giants don't have a coach. They probably should be lower on my board, but they'll remain here for now. 27,
Okay.
I have Chicago. I mean, they just need to fucking fire Matt Nagy. They just
Yeah.
need to fire him. It was such a disappointment. I thought going into last week when I heard Justin Fields was starting, I was like, Bears are going to win. Justin Fields is the future of this franchise, but he's not the future of the franchise as long as Matt Nagy is the head coach. And I actually read an article suggesting that Justin Fields forced a trade out of Chicago.
Oh, wow. That'd be aggressive.
That he should force a
Yeah.
trade
Yeah.
out of Chicago because of how inept that franchise is at quarterback. Then they're sticking with Nagy and Pace, and it's just, dude, you got to know when to give it up.
Yeah.
28, I have Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh remained at 28 on my board from the previous one because this is about where I think Pittsburgh is. I I don't think I don't think they're worse than the teams I have behind them, or they're fairly close enough to them where you can't really discern the difference between them. And it's Pittsburgh, and I've been saying it. I've been saying it for a while. Their best bet going into the season was if Ben Roethlisberger retired,
Yeah. You're looking like you were right on that one.
and it's just he looks shot,
Yeah.
and the defense isn't doing shit. And I mean, okay, they're doing a little bit. Offensive line can't block. They can't get the running game going. I said they shouldn't have drafted the running back. No, they
Yep.
drafted the running back, and this
Yep.
is going to be the answer. Dude, the owners have to be smoking some good shit to think Ben Roethlisberger at this point, at age 39, can still play football.
They just didn't
I
want to let go, man. I didn't want him to let go either. I thought he had another
no,
year in him.
I can understand that. It's just
But
I
you got to get him a better offensive line too. And so,
he can't
but it
throw the
just,
ball more than 10 yards downfield. It's the Drew Brees syndrome.
yeah, you're right. He definitely, and this goes back to last year. He stopped throwing the deep ball, man.
Hmm. All right. At 29, I have Atlanta. Oh, why do you have Atlanta at 29? They beat the Giants. Well, I have the Giants ahead of them just because I don't know what the fuck to do with the Giants. And Atlanta allowed yeah, it's Tom Brady, but Tampa Bay put up fucking 50 points on Atlanta.
Yeah,
Sorry, 48. That dropped them way down, and they kind of climbed up maybe a spot. Like I think I swapped the Giants and the Jets
okay,
from like what would have been my rankings last week.
gotcha, gotcha.
At 30, I have the Jets. The Jets suck. The two teams I have below them are worse than the Jets. They're the only reason why we weren't going to have three fucking 0-17 teams is because two of the teams that I think are the worst in football are in the same
Yeah.
division,
Yeah, they play each
and
other.
everybody plays each other.
Yeah.
So I believe, in fact, I believe the Jets play the other two teams I have. Let me scan that. Yes, they do. They play the two teams I have below the Jets. They all play each other. So there has to
Yeah.
be a winner unless there's a tie. So it's going to be 0-16-1 for two teams. But it is what it is. The Jets suck. I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Yeah, looking at my 26 through 30, I got Philly at 26. I left them where they were at the week before. I'm not going to knock them too hard for losing to Dallas. They were just outmatched. I'm still impressed with Philly. They're doing better than I thought this year. At 27, I got Houston, same spot I had him last week. Davis Mills, he's had some moments, and I saw it on NFL Network, minus last night's game. He's actually had the highest quarterback rating of all the rookies this year. Small sample size. The tape's not good. I'll tell you that. The tape's not good on any of these guys, really. But I do like the Houston defense. They are showing signs of life. And when Tyrod Taylor was playing, I mean, this team actually looked like it could have surprised some people. But at 27, they're still down there, so I'm not expecting much. 28, I got Atlanta. I moved them up one spot. Yay, they got a win. It's too bad it was against the Giants. And so it sucks. Arthur Smith there, I was expecting them to do better than this, but I get it. They're shifting to a totally different style of offense, and it's going to take some time. And so hopefully it gets better. 29, I got the Lions. I dropped them down one spot. It was a super sucky way to lose against Baltimore, but I am hopeful for Detroit. Much like you, James, I do think the offensive line is really good this year, and that's a huge start. I think Goff wants it bad, but he's got no fucking weapons. And I like the combination of Swift and Williams at running back. I like both those guys in the way that they're using them. They're having nice little chunk gash plays every week out of the running game. Uh, and listen, this might be crazy, and I don't want to go on too much of a tangent, but I would be tempted to fucking trade for a wide receiver if I was Detroit because they're giving Goff a ton of time to throw the ball. Just nobody in the fucking world is getting open on that team. If he had one guy that could get open, this could be a way better football team this year, dude.
Mm-hmm.
My opinion. My opinion. And so then at 30, I got the Giants. They still suck. That's all I got to say about that. Back to you for the dumpster fire 31-32.
All right, 31's Houston, 32 Jacksonville. Jacksonville blows. The only reason why Houston's ahead of them, Houston blows. The only reason why they're ahead of Jacksonville is because they beat Jacksonville. I don't know. I don't see any redeeming qualities out of either of these teams.
Yeah.
In fact, the Jets, Houston, or Jacksonville. I don't see
Yeah.
redeeming qualities out of them.
Yeah, they're all in trouble. And I've got the Jets at 31, and I've got Jacksonville at 32. I thought I saw a little glimmer of hope with Zach Wilson and the Jets in week one. And I've not seen that glimmer of hope since week one. And so it's not good. It's really not good. Jacksonville, I will say this. The thing that bums me out is that Jacksonville does have talent. They do have some fucking talent. And so I think they're going to get some wins somewhere along the way here. And Trevor Lawrence, like I said, did look better last night, but he's got to build off of that and keep it going. And so, until then, they're the bottom of the barrel, man. So, yeah, that's the power rankings. Any final comments? Or are you ready to switch over to game picks?
I'm ready to switch over to game picks.
Okie dokie. Week 4 game picks. Let's just do a quick season to date. James, you got the lead. 32 wins to my 30. You're good for 67%. I'm good for 63%. We both had a nice week this past week, which I think gets us more into a normal range in terms of our win percentage. when we look back at how we did last year. And so, now that things are normal again, let's dig into the picks. Last night we both had Cincinnati, so that's cool. I think every week so far this year we've started off with a win, I want to say, and so that's always a good way to kick things off. Um, so first game on Sunday, Tennessee Titans at New York Jets. Do I even have to ask? I
You
mean,
know,
I'm gonna ask
I really want to pick the Jets in this game. I want to find a
because of
way to
all
pick.
the injuries.
Yeah, because of all the injuries. But I still, even with all those injuries,
I think
uh,
Derrick Henry will just run all over him.
yeah, like I can't pick Jets, so I'm on Tennessee.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going Tennessee. I'm still shocked that it's a 7 point line. I think that tightens up, but Tennessee still the better team. They got the better veteran quarterback, and they got a top tier running back. That alone gives them the edge. I mean, you could say all the injuries and everything else maybe makes it a wash. I don't even know if I would say that, but I'm going Tennessee. Next up, we got Kansas City at Philadelphia. Who do you like there, man? Is this it for KC? The ship is sinking. We're jumping off.
I really want to jump off the ship, but I mean, it's the Eagles. The Eagles
Yeah.
can't beat Kansas City. Kansas City can't lose 3 games in a row. There's no fucking way Kansas City's going to lose 3 games in a row. So I'm on Kansas City.
Yeah, I'm going Kansas City as well. And we talked about it earlier with teams sort of figuring them out, maybe. Um, we'll find out. It's a small sample size, but I still, it's hard to not go with them. It's Mahomes, it's Kelsey, Tyreek Hill. I mean, it's like shit. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he's looking great this year. I'm just, and then Philly, they've shown some flashes, but they've also shown some crap too. So I'm going Kansas City. And if Philly wins, then holy fuck, man, my board is like flipping all over the place next week. I'll tell you that. Next up, we got Carolina at Dallas. This is like a fucking sneaky, sweet game this weekend, man. A year ago, especially post Dak getting injured, this game would have been garbage. This game now, this might be my favorite game to watch this week.
Mm-hmm. All right. So a couple things to know about this, the stats, how these teams are faring going into this game. Okay. Sam Darnold has won 5 of his past 6 games that he's played in. And his last 3 games he started. He hasn't won 4 in a row as a starter. Is there anything else we need to know about that? Oh yeah. Carolina is 8-1 against the spread on the road under Matt Rule, and they are 4.5 point underdog. Look, I like what I'm seeing in Carolina. Dallas's defense concerns me, so I'm going with Carolina.
Okay. Well, hey, we're gonna have a little bit of action here. I'm going with Dallas. Um, I like both these teams. They're both showing some dark horse potential, and they're both playing good on both sides of the ball. Um, I think Carolina's defense has been legit this year, which has been the game changer for them. But they haven't played a quarterback like Dak yet. They've played Zach Wilson, Jameis Winston, and Davis Mills. I think this is going to be a much harder matchup for them, and it's going to be hard for them to keep up with Dallas and the amount of points they score. And so I'm giving the edge to Dallas here, but I think this is going to be a great game, and I'm hoping it's a great game. Next up, we got the New York Giants at New Orleans Saints. New Orleans.
There's no way the Giants can beat the Saints. I don't care if it's Jekyll or Hyde that shows up for the Saints.
Okay. I'm going with the Saints as well, but I will say this. Daniel Jones, or Danny Fumbles as you called him earlier, he's actually doing okay so far this year, James. And it's weird saying that. I'm not going to say he's doing good. He's definitely not doing great. He's not even doing good. He's just doing okay. Collectively, when you look at his stats through 3 games, 782 passing yards, 161 rushing yards, 0 interceptions, 2 fumbles. Um, not lighting the world on fire by any means, but I think he's playing at a safer, stable kind of level that if they got anything else out of this team on defense or out of the running game, the Giants might actually win a couple games. The problem is Saquon looks horrible and the defense looks horrible. Blake Martinez out for the year. So yeah, I mean, and I think New Orleans is back in New Orleans this week, so I'm sure they're going to be pumped about that. But either way, I'm going with the Saints. I'm with you, man. Next up, we got Cleveland at Minnesota.
So, interesting stat about this is Minnesota's lost their 2 games they've lost by a combined 4 points.
Yeah.
I like Cleveland in this game. I just can't trust Minnesota. I can't trust that Minnesota, and I'm going to go with Cleveland on it.
Okay. That's fine. I'm going the opposite way. I'm going with Minnesota here, and this is in contradiction to my power rankings. I don't know. I'm just feeling a bit spicy, if you will. I like the way Minnesota's been playing. They've been, especially on offense, they've been pumping out some production. And, I did read an article that was interesting because Stefanski comes from Minnesota. There's people saying this could basically be 2 very similar teams playing each other. And so it'll be, I don't know, whatever, take it for what it's worth. I'm just, whatever. I'm going Minnesota here. And if I'm wrong, shame on me. I should never go against Cleveland with how much I've been pumping them up this year. But I'm going with the Vikings, man. Next up, we got Chicago. Let me flip that. Detroit at Chicago. Who do you like there, James?
I hate.
It's because it's at Chicago. It's bugging you, isn't it?
I just. It gives me heartburn picking the Lions to win a game. It just gives
mixed
me
feelings, huh?
it just gives me heartburn because I always know that it's I'm gonna go with the Lions on this. I don't like what I'm seeing in Chicago. I think their one win. I don't remember who they played, but I don't remember who their win was against, I should say. But I think their one win was kind of lucky, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
And so
Yeah, you're going Detroit.
yeah, I'm going Detroit. They beat the Bengals by 3 points.
Yeah, that's right. It's all good, man. I'm going Detroit as well, and I think you know, the thing that gives me pause is that it's in Chicago. But I think that this is going to be one of the crappier games of the week, and Detroit just finds a way to slug it out because, like you said earlier, they're fighting hard, man. They really are. And I'd love it if they could get one at Chicago. That'd be nice. Next up, we got Houston at Buffalo, which which James, this is crazy. It's a 16.5 point spread, man, in the fucking NFL, dude.
It's how fucking bad Houston is.
Yeah. I mean,
And that's
obviously.
down. 16.5 is down. It was it was higher, and
Oh, yeah. So,
and
I mean,
people were
obviously I'm
so
going
bad.
Houston. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously I'm going Buffalo.
Oh
Obviously I
damn!
can't go
I
Houston.
was about
No.
to change it and say it was locked in on you. No, I'm going Buffalo. They're Houston fucking blows.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, this is Buffalo all the way. I don't know how you could take Houston here. I mean, crazy shit happens in the NFL. I get it, but not that often. Next up, we got the Indianapolis Colts at the Miami Dolphins.
You mean the Jacoby Brissett revenge game?
Yeah.
Uh, What would I tell you if, who would you say, let me paint a little bit of a scenario. Jacoby Brissett gets sacked, let's say 5 times, and they're really beating him up, and he's having problems getting involved. Who do you think would win that game?
If Brissett gets sacked 5 times,
Yeah, just drilled 5 times.
well, then you would think the Colts are probably going to have the edge there.
Yeah, the Colts have the edge in this game. Better quarterback, better coach. Not better coach, but better quarterback. I am on the Colts.
Okay, I'm going Miami, man, and I think that if this was, you know, later in the year where Indy had more of their shit together, I'd probably go the other way. But right now, it just seems to me like what can go wrong is going wrong for Indianapolis. They've got a lot of injuries. They have guys that are just playing bad football. It just seems to me like they're just. I know they kept it close with the Rams. Okay, I just think Indy's. I think they need more time to get healthy and to get cohesive with each other. And so I'm going Miami here. Next up, we got Washington at Atlanta.
I, I just I just don't like this game. Like, I don't like how either team is playing. I I gotta go with the quarterback
You could
and
call
Matt
it a
Lott.
tie if you want.
No, I'm not gonna predict a fucking tie. Yeah, I'm on Atlanta. Uh, I just something about me is telling me that Calvin Ridley's gonna have a huge game.
Okay. I mean, he's due. I was shocked when I saw Cordero Patterson has more yards right now than Calvin Ridley.
Hmm.
I mean, their freaking gimmick gadget guy is like their best offensive player. That's the problem with this offense is that, you know, it should work if they if they have the time to adjust and get there, but like they're just like not even close to clicking yet. And so they're relying on guys like Cordero Patterson to do way more than he should. But I'm going Washington. I'm going the other way. I'm going Washington. Um, I just between these two teams, I don't like them either of them right now. I'm just barely giving the edge to Washington, and so not like a whole ton of reason, but I think Heineke's shown that he can throw the ball down the field, and I think the defense still has potential. I don't see really any potential out of Atlanta's defense, and their offense is just a little too gimmicky. So I'm going Washington. Next up, we got Seattle at San Francisco.
Like I said earlier, I just think something's wrong with the Seahawks. And while I'm not sold on Garoppolo being a top tier quarterback in the league, I think even Garoppolo can put up yardage against that defense. So I'm going to go with the 49ers. Also, even though Russ is 15-4 against San Francisco in his career.
Ooh, I like that stat because I'm going Seattle here. And here's my thing. I agree with everything you're saying. Seattle's defense sucking, things like that. Um, with Seattle sitting at 1-2, it just feels to me like they're going to be really desperate to get a win this week. And sometimes that desperation can be a factor. And so, you know, I get it, San Fran, they played some inspired football last week against Green Bay. Ultimately, they lost. I'm just not impressed with what I'm seeing out of them. I think a desperate Seahawks team can come into San Fran and get the win. So I'm gonna stick with Seattle in this one. Next up, we got Arizona at the Los Angeles Rams, which is
Uh,
probably like the biggest game of the week hype wise.
yeah, probably not. Um, do you know the last time Arizona beat the Rams?
2020?
No.
When was it?
We'll put it this way. It was either Jeff Fisher's last game
Oh, shit.
as a Rams coach or the first game after Jeff Fisher was fired.
Okay.
Sean McVay has not lost to the Rams, or lost to the Cardinals. And that streak's going to continue. You got to go with the Rams.
I'm with
Stafford
you.
winning the MVP.
I'm going with the Rams as well. The only thing I could say with this is that, if Chandler Jones and company can find a way to get some pressure on Stafford, I think that that's the game changer for Arizona here. If they can't, then it doesn't matter. The Rams are just going to walk away with it. Next up, we got Pittsburgh at Green Bay.
Yeah, Pittsburgh blows, and Green Bay. Well, I mean, Rodgers is starting to play back like his MVP self last year. I bought the cheese on it and said, "Oh, Rodgers, is he done? Is it?"
Yeah,
Uh,
but no, he's come around. You're right. He's playing at a high level. Roethlisberger's not.
yeah, and Roethlisberger just can't throw the ball.
Yeah,
So I'm on the pack.
I'm with you. I'm going Green Bay here. Next up, we got Baltimore at Denver.
So in this one, I was all set to pick Baltimore, all set to pick Baltimore. You know, and then I started diving into it, and I see the Lamar, he's questionable, and what big deal if he's questionable? But then I started thinking about it, and Baltimore barely beat the fucking Lions.
Yeah,
The Lions defense held them to what was it, 19 points?
yeah,
The Lions defense. Broncos have a real defense.
yeah. They
Broncos are
do
going to
have.
win the game.
Yeah, they do have a solid defense. I'm going Denver in this one, man. I like Denver. I think Baltimore's on a
Yeah,
slide. Yeah,
that's. Did I say Baltimore? I meant Denver.
yeah. I knew what you meant. Yeah, if you had the slip of the tongue, I got you. All right. Next up, we got Tampa Bay at New England.
This is the biggest hype game of the week.
Oh, because of the revenge game.
Yeah, this
But
game has
I'm
been
not expecting this to be a good game. Are you expecting this to be a good game?
actually I am.
Okay.
I I seriously almost picked Patriots to win this game. Almost did. I what Mac Jones needs, like Mac Jones has shown hiccups, but how Tampa Bay's pass defense is playing is concerning.
Okay.
So I came close. Like if this game's more than like if this game isn't close in the fourth quarter, I'll be surprised.
So I guess I'm going Tampa Bay here,
Yeah, me
and I'm
too.
not going
But
crazy on the revenge game stuff. Mac Jones is a rookie. I'm trying to remember that. I think that if anybody's could slow down Brady, it's Belichick. You know, I just think the Patriots are outmatched, man. And Mac Jones, I don't think he's been pushing the ball down the field that far. And so I think that the Tampa Bay secondary being a weakness, it's not necessarily something that's easy for the Patriots to capitalize on unless they can get Mac Jones to dial it up and start dropping some deeper passes. And maybe he will. Maybe that's part of it, is Belichick knows those things and does try to exploit those things. Um, I just think the Cardinals at the Rams is going to be the way more entertaining game to watch than this one. That's just my opinion.
I got you. So here's an interesting thing about this game. After the Bucks win, Brady will have beaten all 32 teams in the NFL, joining Peyton Manning, Brett Favre, and Breeze.
Hmm.
Of those wins, there's two teams he has not beaten on the road. Obviously Tampa Bay, because he's never played Tampa. Obviously New England,
Yeah.
because he's never played New England. But he's never won in Seattle either, which I thought
Oh,
was weird.
wow. Huh. Yeah, that is weird. Okay, last game for this week, and then we'll go to next Thursday. We got the Las Vegas Raiders at the Los Angeles Chargers.
I said, like I really love the Chargers. I love what they're doing, how the Chargers look this year. Vegas feels like they're outplaying their talent, or their record
Yeah.
isn't doesn't reflect the talent on the team. So I'm gonna go with the Chargers in this game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going with the Chargers. They're riding high right now, having beat the Chiefs. And I did read something that I thought was interesting. It was just a reminder that the Raiders used to play in Los Angeles. And so
Mhm.
they were kind of saying home field advantage won't be as big as people think. Keep that in mind for the Chargers because the Raiders are going to have fans there. But I
Who
still,
said the Chargers have fans in LA?
okay, okay.
I
So
you got to remember they could barely sell out the 20,000 seat, or they didn't ever sell out the 20,000 seat StubHub Center.
so it'll be a home game for the Raiders, is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well then, yeah. So that not only is there no home field advantage for the Chargers, it goes the other way. But I'm still going with the Chargers in that one. I'm with you. Okay. Last but not least, we go to next Thursday. We got the Los Angeles Rams at the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, when I sent you my picks, I didn't pick this one.
Well, I mean, you're going Rams. They're your top team on the board
It gives me pause
because it's
is
at Seattle.
it's at Seattle.
Yeah.
Um, at this point, I will have had, if what I think is going to happens this week with Seattle losing, doesn't that wouldn't Seattle have lost 3 games in a row, and then that's going to be 4 games in a row?
Yeah, I think, I'm calling for Seattle to win this week. And so it's not a big deal for me. But I think if Seattle loses this week, I would strongly consider flipping to pick them to win next week because then they're fully in desperation mode. But
Exactly.
I think they get the win this week and then they lose next week. So I'm giving it to the Rams. But you can change between now and then, man. This is not set in stone. So
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Rams. Yeah,
yeah.
it gives me pause on that. I
Yeah, those divisional games like that, you can pull your hair out sometimes, man. You never know. All right, so those are the game picks. Let's move it on to our question of the week. And so, James, I'm going to do two questions this week because the first one, I just want to know, did you watch the show from last week, which I know you saw a little bit, and depending on how much of it you saw, how'd you think Nick did in your absence?
So to be honest with you, I saw the very opening segment, and that was it.
Okay,
And then got distracted. It sent
okay,
all right. I maybe heard like 30 words of the whole show, and then never was able to go back and finish it. But it was it's I'll have to go back. I'll have to find time and watch the whole thing to give a full assessment. But
yeah,
I greatly
get.
appreciate him popping up and stepping in the last minute because I had
Oh
shit
yeah,
going on.
oh yeah, yeah. You had serious stuff to take care of, No, I tell you what, man, I was happy. I was happy with how he did. I was happy he was here, and he came in. He had his own set of power rankings. He had his own game picks, and he brings a different perspective on the games, and he looks a lot at some of the betting angles and some of the betting insights, and it's good to see it from another person's perspective, and so I enjoyed having him a part of it. And I thought it was cool, man. So we got a sub. If I ever miss a week, we know who to call. So, or you got to miss another one, we know who to call. And yeah, it was good. It worked out. So, but so aside from that, I'll give you a football question. We got the Tom Brady revenge game this week. Do you think he's going to have greater than or equal to 3 TDs against the Pats? And because I usually answer first. I'm going greater than. I think he's going to have 4 TDs against the Patriots. You know that this motherfucker's like ultra competitive, as ultra competitive as they get. They're getting Antonio Brown back. I think it's a bummer Gronk is out, but I think he's going to want to light him up. And so even if it's a close game like you're saying, I think he's going to score his points because he's going to want to leave that game saying, I stuck it to you. And so they get close to scoring. I don't think they're running the ball. I think he's throwing the ball. And so, I'm going over, but, you let me know.
The number was 3?
Correct. You gotta do some quick calculus to figure it out.
Passing touchdowns or passing and rushing?
Total touchdowns.
Over. He's going to have 335 yards passing, 3 passing touchdowns, 1 interception, and 1 rushing touchdown.
Okay. I like that assessment. The Oracle. Okay, so for anybody who's still watching, similar to Name That Stadium, we want you to participate in the show a little bit. Answer our questions of the week. This week we got 2 of them. Tell us how you think Nick did last week. Go back, watch it if you have to, and tell us what you think about Tom Brady. Is he going 3 or more TDs or what? This is a big game, so we want to hear what your thoughts are. James, that's all I got for tonight, man. Any closing thoughts?
No, I don't think so. I think he hit all my points.
Okie dokie. Well, hey, man, it was good having you back, and I hope you have a good night. I'll catch up with you later, man.
All right, sounds good.
Gridiron Grinder. Hut hut hike.